Hello, this is Patricia welcoming you to the 2127th edition of the Enfield Talking newspaper, Dateline 11th of January 2017. Our readers this week are Katherin, Romany, Ros and Patricia, with Dem on the controls. Our editor is Phillip, and our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Prilly, Fernand Bouillon, Harry Breuer, and it's performed by Jean-Jacques Perret, and it's used with his kind permission. The local news stories that we'll be reading come from the Enfield Independent and the Edmonton Green magazine and are their copyright. The events information has been collated by us from other sources. The lead story this week is Couple Terrified by Poltergeist. But before the news, we have one or two special news items and notices. First, the sunrise and sunset times for the week beginning Monday the 15th of January are sunrise 08:05, sunset 16:19. And we also have a few special notices from the production team. Firstly, there's notice of the Enfield Vision drop-in morning. This is taking place next Thursday, the 18th of January, at the Park Avenue Disability Centre. And that's at 65 Park Avenue, EN1 2HH. And the drop-in session will be from 10:30 to 12:30, and all are welcome. And second, we have a cautionary tale, which actually one of our listeners informed us of recently, and it's for all disability blue badge holders. Please check or get someone to check for you the expiry date on your blue badge to make sure it's still valid. Because if the badge is used after the expiry date, you may receive a fine. As I say, one of our listeners was caught that way recently. And finally, a word from our production team. We would like to apologise. Some people found the last recording of 2017 a bit loud. Well, we've adjusted the volume, and another, and we hope quieter version, is attached at the end of this memory stick. So if you do want to listen again, it should be there at a slightly lower pitch. And now over to Ros with our first story.
Couple terrified by a poltergeist. A couple fear their home is haunted by a poltergeist after a series of unexplained incidents. Derek and Lucy, who've asked for their surnames to be withheld, have lived in Bowes Road for 11 years, but believe redoing their garden has disturbed the spirit world. Since December the 17th, their heavy bird bath, which would take a strong person to lift, has actually fallen to the ground twice. It was too heavy to have been moved by the wind, and no known visitors have been in the garden for 2 days. Then at the start of January, they found a burnt match on their indoor coffee table, but neither of them had lit it. Retired publisher Derek, 82, said, "Neither Lucy nor I lit a match, and if we had done so, we certainly wouldn't have left it on the table. We're getting anxious now because it's inside the house. So far it's been harmless. But now there have been 3 unexplained incidents, it's stopped being a puzzle. We do feel slightly scared, and we are wondering when and what will happen next. We both feel there's something out of the ordinary. We're at a loss to know where to turn. And we need all the help we can get." Enfield is well known for its haunted places. The 1977 Enfield poltergeist is perhaps the most famous. Mother of 4, Peggy Hodgson, called the police after furniture moved and unexplained knocking in her family's council house. Janet, Miss Hodgson's 11-year-old daughter, is said to have gone into a violent trance and spoken in a demonic voice. David Saunderson, an expert on paranormal activity, said, "My first reaction to this case would be that the ground at the house is still settling following their garden work. More often, say 98% of time, it is a physical reason rather than a paranormal one that causes things. But assuming the couple has taken this into account, I'm sure there would be many paranormal teams interested in investigating, as it does sound rather intriguing."
Allowing this church to close will be a huge mistake. A churchgoer is leading a campaign to stop the closure of a church building, which would see the end of vital community work. Mother of 3, Natasha Mercer, is determined to fight the closure of the New Bevan Baptist Church in Grove Road, Barnet. She is one of the 30 to 40 congregation who worship at the Barnet Christian Fellowship, and her children go to a Friday club called Going Bananas at the church and the Sunday service. She is petitioning the London Baptist Association to keep the New Bevan Baptist Church building in Grove Road, Barnet. On Saturday, January the 13th, between 2 and 3 p.m, the Barnet Christian Fellowship will hold a Save Our Church event. Natasha said, "We moved into Grove Road 2 years ago and we were welcomed with open arms into the church. Pastor Diane Druce and her team of ladies should be commended for everything they do for the community and for the church. I can't possibly describe how much this church does for the elderly, the young and the community. Allowing this church to close will be a huge mistake." Harry Mercer, 10, Natasha's son, added, "I go to church every Friday and it's my favourite place. If the church closes, I'll be very sad." On August the 31st, the fellowship was given a 6-month licence for the sole use of the church building, which ends in February. Pastor Diane Druce says a residential developer has made an offer to buy the building, while a charity is to make a counter bid to purchase it for the fellowship. She added, "There is an uproar at the idea of the church being turned into residential flats. There have been so many blocks of flats built in this area. We feed people of the community, we help the elderly and people who live on their own. There is no other community centre in this area. That's why it's so important to the people. If the church closes, there is nowhere in the area we can relocate to and we'll have to move out of the area." The London Baptist Association had not commented at the time of going to press.
6 ways to better yourself this year. It's that time of year again. Everyone seems to be asking about New Year's resolutions, and 99% of the answers are exercising more, doing dry January, or eating healthily. And frankly, we're just a bit bored of it all. If you do want to make them this year, why not go off the beaten track? These are our favourite ideas for bettering yourself in the new year. Number 1, join a book club. Sure, you could set yourself the target of reading a new book every month, but what are the chances of you sticking diligently to this as the year goes on? If you join a book club, you'll be far more likely to keep up your resolution. Not only will you have the peer pressure of needing to read the book, but it's addictive. Number 2, learn a language. Download a language app like Duolingo, which calls for you to complete a quiz every day, making sure that you keep your learning ticking along. Number 3, recycle everything. You're probably well aware of how important recycling is, but cast your mind back to 2017, not that long ago. How many times did you not bother to recycle something just because it was a bit too much effort? So make it your resolution for this to stop in 2018 because, as you already know, it's what the planet desperately needs. 4, start sitting up straight. If you don't want to be the cliche gym-going January person, one thing you can work on instead is your posture. Not only is this a sneaky hack for looking like you've got your life together, but it will also take care of your joints, ligaments and muscles and help prevent damage further down the line. Set a reminder on your phone to sit up straight sporadically throughout the day, and soon it will become second nature. Number 5, play more board games. What's this? A resolution that's actually fun? Yep, that's right. Playing board games is not only a great way to get your friends together and have a laugh, but there's a whole bunch of options that can test your brain in different ways, from logic to strategy and general knowledge. And finally, number 6, cut yourself some slack. New Year's resolutions are hard. They tend to be based around aesthetics, which can be tough to handle in our already hyper-superficial society. That's why we propose that if you are going to make resolutions, make one of them another cliche, being kinder to yourself. Next time you get upset with yourself about missing that gym class, messing up at work, forgetting your mom's birthday, get yourself a lollipop and make an effort not to beat yourself up too much. And then maybe go and call your mum. The birthday thing is easily salvageable.
I'm sitting up straight now to read the next piece of news. Thank you. Thank you, Romany. Mosque welcomes guests of all faiths. The Enfield Islamic Centre look forward to welcoming the public. They're coming in to see... May I? Sorry. The Enfield Islamic Centre look forward to welcoming the public in to see their mosque and to meet their congregation this coming weekend. Visiting worshipper Salim Ullah says, "There's no shortage of fear and suspicion in the world we live in, and we believe one of the best ways to find comfort and peace of mind is to speak to real people and have real conversations. We'd really love for people in our community to pop in, have a look around, see what happens in a mosque, and feel free to ask any questions they may have." Last year's open day went really well, and it was attended by many people from all sorts of backgrounds. Many people felt comfortable enough to ask tough questions, and we thoroughly enjoyed the conversations that followed. At the event, taking place between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. on Saturday, the 13th of January, and 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. on Sunday, the 14th of January, there will be a museum-like exhibition which visitors can view at their own leisure, and plenty of volunteers, smiles and refreshments. And everybody there will be happy to talk to anyone who wishes to ask questions and have a chat. Salim adds, "We're all residents of Enfield, despite our different beliefs and backgrounds, and it's our duty to build bridges and understanding that will help make Enfield a friendlier and safer place for all. Events like this only help in building these bridges, and we need your support and attendance to make that happen." The Enfield Islamic Centre, that's the Enfield Mosque, is at 228 High Street, Enfield, EN3 4EZ.
Rebrand for 47-year-old radio station. A volunteer-run radio station which broadcast from Chase Farm Hospital for 47 years has been renamed. Radio Enfield was started at Chase Farm Hospital on May the 24th, 1970 with a 2-hour Sunday evening request show. But it has now been renamed Royal Free Radio, and the event was marked with a historical timeline of photographs telling the story of the station's past. The station has also become part of the Royal Free charity. Chairman David Scarf said, "Since Chase Farm became part of the Royal Free, we have worked closely with the Royal Free charity in publishing many of their fundraising events, and they've been helping us with various administrative tasks. As we were both providing a service to the patients, it made sense to merge and work together to make every patient's experience the very best it can be." Chase Farm is already part of the Royal Free London NHS Trust, and North Middlesex University Hospital recently became the first member of the Royal Free London Clinic Group, so it also made sense to rebrand the station as Royal Free Radio at all 3 sites. Station manager Andy Higgins, station engineer Andy Whiting and treasurer Howard White have worked on new jingles, pre-recorded links and a new website made local information relevant to each of the hospitals. Treasurer Howard White said, "We had a lot of help and support from members of the Royal Free to make sure the changeover went very smoothly. And we have around 30 people volunteering as programme presenters, engineers, requests collectors and studio helpers."
Help combat food poverty in your area. It's shocking but true. 1 in 5 people in the UK live below the poverty line. Samantha Stapley, head of operations at the Trussell Trust, says food bank use is increasing, The stories you hear can be heartbreaking. Mums who are going hungry so their children can eat, or families left to sit in the dark so they can have a hot meal. But food banks offer food and, most importantly, hope to people in crisis. So, how can you help? Well, number 1, start a food bank. Your area may not already have a food bank you can donate to, but that doesn't mean it doesn't need one. All you require is a local community centre or church to set up in, and the backing of a registered charity. For instance, join the Trussell Trust Food Bank Network, and they'll provide training, expertise and ongoing logistical support. Number 2, volunteer with Food Cycle. If you love cooking, hate waste and enjoy feeding people, hunt down your nearest Food Cycle branch. Across the country, they host free community dinners for people in need, and the meals are whipped up using surplus food from supermarkets and local independent food stores. Number 3, overshop for a good cause. If you can afford to pick up an extra couple of cans of tinned tomatoes, 2 packets of pasta instead of 1, or double amounts of cereal, do it and make use of food bank drop-off points at most major supermarkets. Number 4, support or start a community fridge. If you've not yet stumbled across your local community fridge, go seek it out. Offering a space for residents and businesses to share surplus fresh food or spare items nearing their sell-by date, the produce is then free to take for people who want or need it. And if your community hasn't got a fridge yet, launch one yourself. The Community Fridge Network offers support as well as how-to guides for getting started at hubbub.org.uk. Number 5, donate food from your business. Organisations like Fair Share and the app Food Cloud put retailers in touch with food banks and food waste charities to redistribute excess produce so it gets to people who need it. And number 6, share food you've grown. If you're lucky enough to have an allotment, don't whack the excess on the compost. Instead, why not donate your surplus fruit and veggies to charities like Food Cycle or a community fridge?
Historians search for World War II flight navigator's family. A historian is searching for the family of a Second World War flight navigator to invite them to a memorial service in honour of him and his crew. Sergeant Ronald William Mepstead, who was born in Edmonton, was on board a 100 Squadron RAF Lancaster plane when it took off from an airbase in Grimsby, Lincolnshire, for a bombing mission in Germany. On June the 26th, 1943, at 12:54 a.m., the plane was shot at and crashed in Gisberberg, Beemster, a district of Holland. There were no survivors. The 20-year-old's body was only one of 3 to be identified due to the ferocity of the explosion. He was born in 1923 to Horace and Kathleen Mepstead and buried in Amsterdam New Eastern Cemetery. Greg Harrison, who is a historian and archivist for 100 Squadron RAF and the 100 Squadron Association, is trying to track down relatives of the Mepstead family. He said, "I have been in touch with a colleague in Europe who researches German night fighter claims, and he has found one matching Sergeant Mepstead's loss. Oberfeldwebel, the equivalent to an RAF flight sergeant, Karl-Heinz Schöffling, attacked and shot down ED 988 at 0054 hours local time. It was his 14th victory. He was a pilot with the German 10//NJG-1 night finder unit based at Venlo. In total, 457 British bombers operated that night against Gelsenkirchen. It was part of Bomber Command's campaign of 1943. We are not sure which person in the photo is Ronald, and if we can find any of his relatives, perhaps they'll be able to help us identify him in it. This year marks the 75th anniversary of the crash, and Beamster Historical Society is to erect a memorial to Sergeant Memstead and his 5 fellow crew members. A service of dedication will be held on the day. Flight Sergeant Leslie Jack Nail of the Royal Australian Air Force, Sergeant Cyril Connor of the British Royal Air Force, Pilot Officer Charles Pharaoh Reynolds of the British Royal Air Force, and Sergeant John Dillon, also of the British Royal Air Force, also lost their lives. Contact Greg Harrison at greg-harrison.co.uk or phone 07564 714 678.
Praise for small acts of great kindness. A hospital director has received worldwide praise for a simple act of kindness when he gave his shoes to a patient. David Stacey, who works at North Middlesex University Hospital, was at a meeting when he came across Frank Stocksley, who was waiting to be discharged after a stint in hospital for a metabolic disorder. The 57-year-old had arrived by ambulance and he did not bring any shoes with him. Mr. Stacey, 33, had a pair of shoes that were too big for him in his desk drawer, but which fitted Mr. Stocksley perfectly. Mr. Stacey said, "I didn't think anything of it at the time. I just thought, I can help and I don't even need the shoes because they're too big for me. So I offered to give them to the man because it was the only thing stopping him from going home. I didn't expect any of this attention. It was just a random act of kindness because I could help. I never expected anything more to come of it, but then the story was posted on social media, and it seems to have caught everyone's attention. A nurse photographed the shoes and posted it on Twitter. Frank said, "They've looked after me like royalty here, but I'm really pleased to be going home. I'm planning to give the shoes to charity as soon as I can because they're a bit posh for me, but I want somebody else to be able to benefit from them." Maria Kane, North Middlesex University Hospital Chief Executive, said, "We're delighted to have helped Frank to get home. David's act is one of the many small acts of great kindness our staff do every day to help our patients. I'm very proud of them."
Fitness fanatics open a new health club. A woman who helped her mother-in-law to overcome a 13-year battle to lower her cholesterol has opened a new health club with her husband. Civil Combat, 36, and her husband Hassan opened the nutrition station near Enfield Chase Station on Windmill Hill this Friday on January the 5th. Over 100 people came to the event where Enfield Mayor Christine Hamilton cut the opening ribbon. Sybil and Hassan came up with the idea, having worked in network marketing for a global nutrition company for over 3 years. Wanting to help others, the couple began by improving the wellness of someone very close to their hearts. Sybil said, "I know it sounds a bit cheesy, but we're both extremely healthy and fitter now and have done the same for so many people in the community and family and friends. We've managed to help my mother-in-law, for example, who had high cholesterol." The nutrition station offers free health and nutritional advice and wellness evaluations using state-of-the-art diagnostic test equipment and personalised nutrition programmes.
Public transport. In response to A Better Place to Live, opinion 20th of December. Mr. Hughes has criticised car use for a number of years, even though he has or had one himself. He needs reminding why the car was invented. It is the natural progression of the need for quicker travel in comfort and safety. Mr. Hughes says there is little need to own a car in London because we have a highly developed public transport system. However, on the occasions I have used it, I find it inferior to the car. It is not door to door. Frequency varies. It often requires more than one bus to get to a destination, and a seat is not guaranteed. There is also a risk of criminal activity. In these circumstances, it is a nonsense to expect 80% of Londoners to exchange their cars for an inferior transport system. Mr. Hughes raises the issue of health and exercise. Owning a car does not cause obesity and diabetes, and there are many forms of exercise available other than riding a bike. With regard to congestion, we have a ludicrous situation where the government is spending millions to reduce it on A roads, and the Mayor of London and Enfield Council are spending millions of pounds increasing it with bus and cycle lanes. A better place to live will not be achieved by banning parking spaces and cramming people into high-density, high-rise accommodation. Most people want a home with a garden and garage. If London's population increases by the forecast of 1.8 million in 20 years, will we want to live among a forest of high-density, high-rise structures because London cannot expand into the adjoining countryside? And that's from G.A. Musey of Palmer's Green.
Mayor arranges charity show. Three of the Mayor of Enfield's favourite bands will perform live at the Milford Theatre on January the 27th to raise funds for her charity, Enfield Cares. Red Sky July, Van Susans and JFK Blues have all confirmed they will perform for Councillor Christine Hamilton's charity concert. As a huge fan of live music who regularly attends the concert of all three bands, she is reportedly delighted that they will join together to form one night of music. Red Sky July is husband and wife duo Ali McCurlin, who's a guitarist in Texas, and Shelley Paul, one half of Alicia's Attic, along with former model Charity Hare, the Alice Band. Red Sky July's sound is a hazy blend of alt country and Americana, and they have been added to the playlist on BBC Radio 2, as well as appearing on a whole host of radio and TV slots. The band have supported artists including Sheryl Crow, Steve Earle, 10cc, Tom Jones, Beth Nielsen Chapman and Jules Holland. Festivals they have performed at include Glastonbury, Isle of Wight and Tea in the Park. Red Sky July released their third album, The Truth and the Lie, in March 2016. Recorded in their own studio, the band were joined by Grammy-nominated Nashville-based singer-songwriter Beth Nielsen Chapman, who has worked with Elton John, Neil Diamond and Willie Nelson. On release, the album debuted in the top 3 of the official country charts. Van Susans are a pop-rock band residing from London. Consisting of Ollie Andrews, Will Scholar, Holly McClatchy and brothers Rob Dulloway and Ed Dulloway, the group have a passion for melodic harmonies and tales of love and heartbreak, accompanied by both acoustic rhythms and assertive electric guitar riffs. Van Susans are signed to the independent label Beatnik Geek Records and cite classic mid-90s to early noughties bands as influences, such as Jack's Mannequin, Jimmy Eat World, Something Corporate, Dashboard Confessional, Jamie T and Incubus. Their lineup includes the usual lead and backing vocals, guitars, keyboards, and the occasional sound of a violin played by Holly. JFK Blue is a rock blues band with a fresh take on well-crafted rock and blues. These are musicians with one aim: to play their style of blues and rock with freedom of expression, not to get hung up on genres, but to play music that they like. In doing so, their music is contemporized yet has a retro feel. The band is made up of Chris Elliott on guitar and lead vocals, Iago Bannett lead guitar, Leslie Fleischman on bass guitar, and Sol Ezra on drums, percussion and vocals. This will take place at the Millfield Theatre, Silver Street, Edmonton, N18 1PJ on January the 27th, and details are 0208 807 6690 or www.millfieldtheatre.co.uk.
Teachers' crowdfund campaign for a new fairy tale. A teacher who has reimagined a classic children's tale for today's generation is now looking to publish her work. Rosina Georgiou, who teaches at Enfield Grammar School while studying for a creative writing master's at Middlesex University, is looking for donations to help her achieve her dream. The 25-year-old's book, Aphrodite's Fury, retells Sleeping Beauty, but the princess has Greek goddesses for guardians instead of fairy godmothers. Rosina, who went to Winchmore School, said, "I had a wonderful English teacher called Miss Panay at Winchmore who instilled a real love of literature in me. I've always loved writing in my own time and have been lucky enough to be able to pursue my writing seriously this year while working part-time at the grammar school. Writing is most definitely a lifelong ambition for me. I'm hoping Aphrodite's Fury is the start of something that I can do for the rest of my life." Another twist in Rosina's story is that the princess is the hero, as she's the one to break the curse, and not the prince. Rosina's aim is to write a tale that can relate to children living in the modern world that has greater gender equality. Rosina, who was born in Paphos, near to Aphrodite's Rock in Cyprus, explained how the idea came to her. She said, "I went there in early October as part of my course. We were asked to do a close study of the objects that we were interested in. I wandered around several artifacts before I came across the statue of Aphrodite. Until that point, I hadn't felt a strong connection with any of the pieces, but the links to my childhood must have been stronger than I realized. And while I was studying Aphrodite, I noticed that her ring finger had somehow snapped off. Given that she's a goddess of love, that felt hugely symbolic to me as a young woman in London in the 21st century. Rosina's target is to be able to pay for an illustrator to add pictures to her words and to have a first print run of 150 books."
And here are some letters. The first one by John Sturman of Southfield Road, Enfield, and it's called Return to Regional NHS. "After working for 30 years in the NHS, it remains my view that London needs to return to a larger regional NHS. In the past, I suggested to NHS England that 4 regional services areas need to be in central London. I suggest larger groups of NHS hospitals work together to provide all general and mental health services in their own region. Over the next few years, London will have 10 million residents, so changes to all NHS services are needed to provide standard services for all." And here's a thought by Jeremy Platten of Newman's Way, Enfield. It's titled House Demolition. "There's an awful lot of house demolition going on around Hadley Wood, and it's spoiling the beauty of the area. Also, some of the roads around here are supposed to be bus routes, but house residents and visitors love leaving their vehicles parked all over the street." And finally, a letter by Dr. and Mrs. Silverstone in Lakenheath, London. It's called Causing Havoc. An open letter to the leader of the Planning Department, Enfield Council. "We have been living serenely in the borough of Enfield continuously since 1958, and I do believe this is the very first letter of complaint or even comment to a previously decent, caring, sensible series of administrative councillors who chose wisely to maintain the high standard to which we have become accustomed. Roadworks, new road layouts, and cyclist obsession have created severe misery, anger and frustration for tens of thousands of Enfieldians and unfortunate visitors on a daily basis for the past 2 years. It is never-ending and widely expanding. You should be utterly ashamed of the havoc you have caused, and a letter of apology is totally inadequate but anticipated. We have nothing to add to these considered comments, and indeed we shall make the obligatory apology for you, having this urge to express our displeasing thoughts.
Your cup of tea. With a history stretching back to 200 BC, kombucha is anything but new. But the fizzy fermented tea with an array of eyebrow-lifting health claims attached to it is suddenly starting to attract attention. Food bloggers are raving about it, health shops are stocking it, and dedicated kombucha bars are starting to crop up around London. So, what's causing the kombucha commotion? The drink originates from China, where it has been made for its health benefits for over 2 millennia. Supposedly named after Dr. Kombu, who centuries later brought the drink to cure the ailing Japanese Emperor Inkyo, it didn't reach Europe until the 20th century. And now it's being cooked up by home brewers and trendy stores up and down the country. The most common method of making it is mixing black or green tea with a decent helping of sugar. It's then fermented for around 2 weeks using a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast, usually referred to by the far catchier term SCOBY. The rest is a sparkling drink with a vinegary, sour taste that can be balanced out with more sugar. Kombucha has been praised by the health conscious, mostly for the abundance of probiotics which emerge in the fermentation process, and supposedly work wonders for your gut health. Recent research has found that having healthy gut bacteria improves our mood and gives us healthier skin. As well as being packed with probiotics, kombucha includes antioxidants, which boost heart and liver health, and may be able to improve your immune system by killing harmful bacteria. Studies have suggested the mixture might help maintain healthy blood sugar levels and cholesterol. It's been credited with curing everything from weight loss to acne. If kombucha sounds like your cup of tea, you're in luck, because it's becoming easier to get hold of by the minute. Jar Kombucha in Hackney is Europe's first kombucha tap room, and stores are stocking their stuff across London. Kombucha is a unique product that challenges people's assumptions of what a fizzy drink can be. Adam Vanni, the venture's co-founder, explains. The perfect balance of both sour and sweet is intriguing initially, but then keeps you coming back for more. Some are even starting to swap booze for the booch, as eager disciples call it. The drink provides a delicious and complex alternative to alcohol when you don't feel like boozing, says Adam.
And now there are 2 exhibitions taking place this month. The first one is Women at Work, Then and Now. And this is a new exhibition which has opened at the Dugdale Centre, examining the history of women's work in industrial Enfield. This is a pioneering project in the Meridian Water redevelopment area of Enfield, made possible by money raised by national lottery players. The project focuses on the origins of the history of women's work in industrial Enfield since men's conscription in 1916. The project will be commissioned on a female artist in residence who has been based in building blocks, an open access workshop in the Meridian Water area, to undertake archival research in both Enfield Local Studies Library and Archive and the National Cooperative Archive, creating a body of work inspired and informed by their discoveries. The work enabled people from the area to discover histories in 2 creative, hands-on workshops. All work produced will be shown in an exhibition at the Dugdale Centre in Enfield. ACAVA, an arts educational charity, and Building Blocks, a not-for-profit open workshop, have teamed up with the London Borough of Enfield to provide a pioneering community outreach programme for the Meridian Water regeneration area in Enfield. Working with heritage professionals from Enfield Local Archive and the National Cooperative Archive in Manchester, Women at Work Then and Now will gain a deeper insight into the history of women's work in this area, as well as distributing valuable new skills to local people. Commenting on the award, Rosie Ridgway said, "We are thrilled to have received support thanks to national lottery players and are confident that the project will uncover exciting new heritage about the valuable work women have done within Enfield, and also will support the aim to bring back the creativity, innovation and skills that were once central to this area." And this exhibition is running until January the 20th. The second one is Terrific Toys Made and Played in Enfield. This exhibition celebrates the golden era of toys and games made in the borough by famous names such as Spears Games and Lesney Matchbox, and played with by generations of local children. The exhibition, curated by Enfield Museum officer Jan Metcalf, look at how toys developed and explain how some children's lives changed dramatically from working and doing chores to having time to play with toys and games. Some of the world's best-selling toys, they were once manufactured in Enfield, and this nostalgic exhibition will also explore the borough's rich history of toy manufacture dating back to the turn of the last century. Nostalgic adults and inquisitive children will marvel over a wide selection of toys from the museum collection, including Lotto board games, model steam engines, Top Trumps card games, toy soldiers, alphabet bricks, tiddlywinks, yo-yos and dolls. The company that produced them, British manufacturer Lesney Products & Co. Limited, was founded in 1947 by Palmer's Green school friends Les Smith and Rodney Smith, no relation, who started their business in the cellar of the Rifleman pub in Edmonton, and who joined their first names to create the name Lesney for their company. All the board games exhibited were manufactured by J.W. Spear and Sons, who set up a factory in Green Street, Brimsdown in 1932 and remained there for over 60 years. The sets exhibited as part of Terrific Toys were manufactured by the company Elgin, who were once based in Bush Hill Park and made dolls' house furniture in the 1920s and 30s. Terrific Toys will bring to life the history of toys for new generations while adults take a trip down memory lane. Enfield Life features objects used or manufactured in Enfield from ancient times to the present day and is open daily, and this one is until April the 15th, both of them being held at the Dugdale Centre, 39 London Road, Enfield, EN2 6DS. Telephone number is 0208 807 6680, and the website address is www.dugdalecentre.co.uk.
And now a report of a recent football match between Enfield Borough, which took place against Winslow United. Late penalty heartbreak for Borough after mounting 2-goal comeback. Enfield Borough were beaten for the third game in succession and only had themselves to blame for their narrow 3-2 defeat to Winslow United. The Borough had worked their way back into a game they looked destined to lose, with an own goal from Guy Kiangbani and a second from Linton Goss to make up for. But their second-half performance looked to have done just that. A short back pass allowed Thomas Opoku to take the ball off the Winslow goalkeeper's toe and turn it into the empty net with an hour played. And 10 minutes later, the scores were level, something which had looked unlikely with Winslow's dominance, and Goss's performance in particular. A long ball from Jeremiah Plentilly Lawrence was well weighted for Solomon Nauburki's run, and he slotted home. Game on, and Enfield in full control. But it's a funny old game, football, and it can turn in the blink of an eye. So it proved when Brian Shibangu's clumsy challenge on Goss gave the referee no option but to point to the spot, and Ryan Freshwater sent Matt Nolan the wrong way from 12 yards. Borough looked to achieve the unlikely again, but they left players upfield and were nearly caught out twice on the break. Borough's next game is away to Baldock Town, who are one league place above them.
Former MP publishes memoir. As a new MP, you walk through the members' lobby filled with a vision of how you will leave your mark on both Parliament and the nation, exercising your power to improve the lives of the voters. What you are almost certainly unaware of is that your constituents, the government, the press, and the very institution of the Palace of Westminster have other plans for you. So it was for Nick Dubois in May 2010, when, with an unimpressive and insecure majority of 1,692, he began the journey of a lifetime, meeting head-on the bizarre, the inexplicable, the touching, the shocking, the vitally important, and thank God lots of utter nonsense as well. Confessions of a Recovering MP is a humorous, anecdote-filled romp through the corridors of power, exposing the eccentricities of the mother of all parliaments and revealing the peculiar demands that come with being an MP. Nick Dubois was elected at the 2010 general election as the Member of Parliament for Enfield North. He lost the seat at the 2015 general election. Mr Dubois will hold an event on January the 24th, including a book signing reception and question and answer session at the North Enfield Conservative Club. If you wish to go, contact office@enfieldnorthconservatives.org.
You'd be crazy to miss this show. An amateur dramatic society returns to the stage with a new pantomime. St Monica's Players' latest show will be a reworking of The Little Mermaid, a family pantomime at the Intimate Theatre on Green Lanes. The show runs from Thursday, January the 18th to Saturday, January the 20th at 7:30pm, with matinees on Saturday and Sunday at 2:30pm. And there will also be an 11am performance on Saturday, January the 20th. Director Michael Lacey said, "Once again, St Monica's Players are blessed with such talent to choose from. We have a wonderful cast, hilarious script, and some fantastic song choices. This really will be a pantomime to remember. You'd be crazy to miss this show." Tickets are available by calling 07708 708 062 or emailing smptickets@hotmail.com.
Ignatians pick up vital victory over Hemel. Enfield Ignatians earned a valuable win over Hemel Hempstead to pull themselves closer to league survival in London 2 North West. Their narrow 18-15 victory over the side they now trail by only 4 points pulled them 9 clear of the drop and looking firmly up the table for the first time in a while. Victory was hard fought and more than earned the hosts jump up the table into 9th position ahead of Hammersmith and Fulham, and was built on the foundation of a superb first half performance at Donkey Lane. Outside centre Ethan Rennie was first to cross the whitewash, running onto captain Jake Bates' kick over a static Hemel defence. The skipper converted his score to put the hosts in control early on, and they were looking even more comfortable soon after. Left wing George Cross fed man of the match Rennie with a sublime pass inside, and he crossed for a second time to claim a first half brace. Perhaps there was a sense of complacency which then crept in, or perhaps Hemel just realised they were on a hide into nothing. because the visitors remembered there were two sides in the contest half an hour in, and scrum half Brent McDougall went over from close range to reduce the deficit to 7 points following a 5-metre scrum. Bates and Hemmel's Jamie Hearn traded penalties after the break in a cagey opening to the half. Ignatian's confident defending was dealt a blow when scrum half Owen Perks was sin-binned through, and Hemmel took full advantage to score their second try and level the scores. It would have been easy for Enfield to crumble, but they had shown their ability with their full complement on the field, and 2 minutes from time displayed it again in a match-winning style. The hosts won a crucial penalty when Hemmel infringed at the breakdown, and it was moved 10 metres forward following some ill-advised comments from the visitors. Bates held his nerve, as he had done all afternoon, to put his kick between the uprights and seal a dramatic late win which could prove vital in Ignatian's survival campaign. Coach Ali Cook said, "It was great performance as our defence was monumental and our application spot on. We drifted out of the game in the second half, but to land the winning penalty after a 10 to 15 minute spell of Hemmel pressure shows great strength of character. Ignatians have more of a free hit this Saturday as they travel to HAC, who have lost only twice all season and could go top of the table with victory."
And now I have news of an event coming up this Sunday week. That's Sunday the 21st of January at Broomfield Park. It's a wassail in the Broomfield Community Orchard, and that's Broomfield Park, N13 4HE. And the wassail takes place on Sunday the 21st of January between 1:30 and 3:30. It will start at 2 o'clock, and the organisers say they're pleased to announce that the singing will be led by local musicians Dave and Ruth of That Blue Patch. There will also be refreshments. So wrap up warm, bring a pot or a pan to bash to help wake up the trees and to chase away the evil spirits. And volunteers are warmly welcomed. So that sounds great fun. Sunday week, the 21st of January, Broomfield Community Orchard.
And here's some news about the Enfield Creative Writers Workshops. Now, these workshops take place at Salisbury House Art Centre in Berry Street West, N9 9LA. And they're starting again in the new year from Friday the 19th of January, 8 p.m. till 10 p.m. And they're normally held every fortnight in the lecture room at Salisbury House. Now, those attending can bring along a short piece of their writing in any form, usually prose, poetry or drama, and they get feedback from the group. It's a creative writing session and they're held, as I say, every 2 weeks. Sessions are free for newcomers and £2 thereafter, and there's an annual subscription of £6. For further questions or any other details, do contact the co-chair of the Enfield Writers' Workshop, Lawrence Reeve-Jones, and his email address is william.reevejones, that's REEVE Jones, @yahoo.co.uk.
Now, here's one for you. If you hadn't heard, and I must admit I have not heard, the Enfield Literary Festival is coming. It's fast approaching. It takes place all day, Saturday the 27th of January, at the Edmonton Green Library. And I shall do my best to tempt you to attend the Enfield Literary Festival on Saturday the 27th of January. So the whole shebang kicks off at 10 o'clock in the morning. Now remember, you can go to any or all of these talks or workshops should you choose. You're not committed to go to all of them. The whole thing kicks off at 10 o'clock. And at 10 o'clock, between 10 and 11 that is, there are 1-to-1 10-minute surgeries with writer Katherin Johnson. Katherin Johnson is an author and writer for film, TV and radio, and some of the titles to her credit are A Nest of Vipers, Sawbones, The Curious Tale of the Lady Caribou and Blade and Bone. So that's from 10 till 11, 1-to-1, 10-minute surgeries. From 11:15 to 12 o'clock, Katherin Johnson now will do a talk in the round, including advice on the creative writing process. Then there's a break for lunch, and from 1 to 1:45, Alex Wolfe, local author, leads a creative writing workshop. After the workshop, from 2 o'clock to 2:45, Alex Wolfe talks about his passion for history and science and how it has helped to shape his fiction. Then from 3 to 3:45, there's a lecture by Dr. Katie Beavers from the Charles Lamb Society entitled Charles and Mary Lamb, Idealisation, Inspiration and Insanity. And then at 4 until 5 o'clock, there's a talk by Martin Russo, who's the founder and editor of Entwo for Enfield. And he asks, has the rise of digital media, blogs and hyper-local journalism enriched our local media landscape? Discounts are available if you book a combination of more than one session. In general, every session is £5 if you should book it by itself, other than the one-to-one surgeries, which are £15 for 10 minutes with writer Katherin Johnson. And if you would like more information about the discounts that are available, or about how to purchase your tickets, or about parking, or about anything else that could be relevant or pertinent to the Enfield Literary Festival, please contact the Edmonton Green Library at 36 to 44 South Mall. That's N9OTN. And they've not left us a telephone number here, but I'm sure you'll be able to find that information very, very easily.
Well, we've reached the end of our programme for this week. Thank you for listening. But before we go, do remember you can get in touch with us to share your own news and special announcements. We love to hear from you. And if you've any comments about the Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 020 8805 6578. She is your listener's representative and will be pleased to help you. But for now, from the team of Katherin, Romany, Ros, Patricia and Em on the controls, it's goodbye. So, please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet, put the memory stick into the packet in a closed position and return it to us as soon as possible in readiness for the next edition. Don't forget, again, you can call Diane de Jersey regarding any help you may require in connection with the Enfield Talking newspaper, and that number again, 020 8805 6578. Now, coming up next, the latest news and information for the Greater London area from InfoSound. The Enfield Talking newspaper will be with you again in 1 week's time.